going to go back down memory lane there. I discovered a photographer called Tom Wood, and he is a documentary photographer. So he was photographing my hometown of Birkenhead and New Brighton, but he was photographing it at the time that I would have been a kid. And it was just amazing to see my sort of hometown, which I'd never seen in depicted anywhere. And to see that being sort of discussed within art was just something really quite exciting. But they also spoke to fashion to me. I was really interested in what people were wearing and how that told a story. So photographing something quite real. It's quite interesting, this idea of home and how that can change over time. Yeah, your sort of connections to a place. My sort of home's changed, where it was always sort of Birkenhead, it was always Merseyside. I feel now it is Bristol. So I actually sort of didn't have a great relationship with where I was from. It's something I sort of struggled with actually for sort of quite a long time, and it's even down to my accent because of people's perceptions of that, but gradually kind of got over, which is a good thing. I always talk about the sort of people I went to school with, so that's my sort of very early sort of references to fashion, but I was sort of fascinated by the girls that I went to school with in particular. And just for, I went to what's known as a very rough school. It doesn't exist anymore. And I was just like, how can I sort of bring that into the work? Some of the very early work is literally me going out and buying and sort of sourcing outfits that are going to present them. Then when I sort of really started to go home, it's like I actually grew to love where I was from. So I was talking about, I sort of willingly went back to sort of experiment with that and the possibilities of that. It was incredibly nostalgic. I'm quite a nostalgic person. It was quite interesting as the pandemic sort of first started and seeing new work. Burberry did, I don't like to speak about Burberry that much, but if we just look at the imagery, they did this sort of quite amazing doorstep series. So it's the models on this sort of plinth, and the only thing that changes is obviously the model and the sort of house that they're standing in front of. I thought that was just a nice series of images. There was an amazing series of Vogue covers, which was shot by a photographer called Jamie Hawksworth, and it was key workers. Yeah, for me, obviously it connected to me because it was real people and real stories. But there's always just there's just this conversation around it's going to be digital and it's going to be AR and VR, and it's like, no, it's not. It's really not, because what people want, I think, more than ever is, if we think about this pandemic as well, is a genuine, real connection with someone. I think that's what we're all yearning for. I always sort of bring that to the forefront of the discussion, and Burberry is awful. It's an awful brand. They're dead stock to the clothes that don't sell. Rather than give that, I don't know if you know this, rather than give that away to people who need it, they burn it. So it doesn't end up in the hands of people that they don't want. But to me, there's loads of really exciting designers coming through, who would never in a million years do anything like that. Bethany Williams, who works with, so her practice is completely sustainable. So she's using dead stock materials, and each season she works with a charity. There's like art school where there's this amazing sort of representation of differently able bodies. You had someone like Fenty Rihanna, who was consistently I could speak about her all day. But in terms of sort of diversity and representation, and to present the collection, which was safe in a pandemic. And then you had Chanel, who just put on a show. There was no distancing really with the audience. It's like they just didn't acknowledge what was going on, or they did and chose to ignore it, which is maybe even worse. So yeah, focus on the new designers. Whatever sort of practice you do, whatever specialism, whatever work you create, I think you have to put your stories and you at the front of it. What's the most authentic and unique thing to you? is you. That's something at the forefront. That's my sort of teaching, essentially. It's like, who are you? What have you got to say? I think the only opportunity for something unique to come through is from your own experiences.